Woo. This is daunting. Everybody I've told I'm nervous about this, who cares? It's no big deal. I feel like I need to explain why it's such a big deal. It's not often that people that actually work in communities that are being redeveloped get to hold a position of power within those communities. So I feel like this is an opportunity to either to move you or lose you. You can either be really inspired after this, or you can be like talking about the weather when you get in the car. So hopefully afterwards you're like, yeah, I want to know what they're doing in Live 6. I want to figure out how I can help. Apparently I'm the first person today to go off script. Yeah, I'm doing it. They were like, really, no slides, no notes? I'm like, oh, I got some notes that I just took today since I've been here, but yeah, I'm not using the teleprompter. I had one slide. This is the house I grew up in. I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. I guess I can start there. I just want everybody to understand why this is important. I hope this is a really engaging 10 minutes for you and everybody's not like looking at their phone or staring off into space, because there's gonna be a different kind of presentation. So that's the house I grew up in. It's in the Bagley neighborhood. My parents bought it from the people that built it in 1969. It was built in 1942. My mom said when they purchased it, the woman who had lived there was crying because her husband had built her dream house. My parents ended up staying there for 45 years, so that's twice as long as the people that built it. So if you can understand the attachment that that first couple had to that house, imagine the attachment that my family had to that place. So it's near 7 Mile and Myers, like I said, in the Bagley neighborhood. When I was growing up there, it was a clean, nice, safe place. All those things you think about happening in suburban neighborhoods that make them so livable. There were competitions for who kept the best lawns, like all that landscaping my mom and dad painstakingly did in their time off because they both had full-time jobs. My dad at GM and my mom at the state of Michigan. It was just a place that everybody who lived there was invested in, and my parents weren't the only people to stay there for 45 years. So there were the Escos down the street, the Smiths down the street, all those people lived there for decades and decades and decades. And when you have people that stay in communities that long, they're invested. They're not just passing through. Like all our kids knew each other, or all the families, all the parents' kids knew each other. We didn't go to school together. A lot of us got shipped out of the neighborhood to go to different schools, but we all knew each other. We all still know each other. It was just a really engaged, socially connected place. And for that reason, I feel like it was safer. People talk about how do we make communities safer. They're like, yeah, more policing. I'm like, no, more social connectivity. If everybody knew each other in the neighborhood, you wouldn't mess with them. Like, that's just how it was. Let's see, kids playing, families, every house was occupied. It's really sad. I've driven down my own old street recently, and you know when you're about to demolish a house, it gets spray painted, water cut off, so that means it's about to go down. That never happened when I was growing up. Every single house was occupied. We knew who every single person was that lived in all of those spaces. So if you can imagine, imagine the place that you came from. If you're from a place that's not impacted by blight, it's really hard for you to conceptualize what that feels like when you go to the place that kind of made you who you are and it's falling down, it's being dismantled. I mean, I understand that we have to do demolition, so Mayor Duggan, you know, no slights. I get that. What I'm saying is it's just, I want people to recognize how that impacts the people that came from those places, like it's heavy. So if you go to a community meeting and some people are angry, that's one of the reasons. But it needs to be noted. I gave my +1 to a resident from the neighborhood. Is Joe here? Is Joe in here? And Joe said like all of the Fitzgerald neighborhood was here. There's a Princeton Street Block Club here. I heard they were. All right, maybe they don't want to shout out. That would make me very happy if people from the neighborhood could actually come to these things. Well, they can when you let them be your +1. Let's see. So that's how it used to be. 2 years ago, though, my parents got held up in their house. It was a Saturday afternoon. It looked like this outside. They had gone grocery shopping. They pull into the garage, start unloading the car. 2 guys with guns walk in behind them and make them walk into the house through the sideway and hold them at gunpoint in the dining room while their 2 accomplices ransacked the house and stole things. more than things being taken, it really, I don't know, it shook us all to our core. So I'm an only child, and I'm very close with my parents. So the three of us are very attached to that place. Like I said, 45 years. I've had every Christmas in that house, every Thanksgiving in that house. So if you can imagine, like, your home feels like this safe, warm place. You can always go there and get that feeling again. But we can't now, because somebody came in and robbed my parents at gunpoint. They left. Like, they stayed through multiple waves of flight. They could have afforded to leave years and years ago, but they stayed till it came inside the house. We've had cars stolen. The garage has been broken into, but the last straw was those people coming into the living room and making it feel like an unsafe place. And I don't think our story is unique. What is interesting, my parents moved to a housing complex in Farmington Hills, and my dad met a new friend. I'm like, oh, what's their story? They're like, Northwest Side, held up at gunpoint, moved up here. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, the same exact story? Like, what is going on? I call them now urban refugees. Like, it's a common theme out there. Everybody in my parents' complex is either East Indian or black, actually. I was kind of worried for them. I'm like, you're not going to have any friends in your new suburban digs. But they're like, no, you should come check it out. But it's really all other urban refugees, which gives me some sort of comfort. But to think about it on the back end, you're like, what the hell is going on in the neighborhoods? So anyway, the neighborhood changed. What seemed like overnight. Oh, shoot, 3 minutes left. Got to talk about why I'm here. So last year I was brought into an organization called Live 6. It stands for Livernois 6 Mile. It's a community development corporation. It will be a nonprofit. I'm not sure if we got our tax status yet, but it's been filed. We've applied. And it does what other community development organizations do. I guess I want to say the only way that I want to do it differently is really put neighborhood residents at the forefront of what the thinking is on how we do that. When I first started, people were like, well, what's your vision for the neighborhood? I'm like, well, let me talk to some residents and get back to you. Like, I have a vision, but it's not Lawrentown that I'm working in. It's the Livernois 6 Mile corridor, which is full of really active residents, really engaged community organizations. There's the Bagley neighborhood, Sherwood Forest, there's Palmer Park, Martin Park, Pilgrim Village, Fitzgerald, Marygrove. So all those neighborhoods I just named have a neighborhood organization, and within those neighborhood organizations, like 10 or 15 block clubs. So there are already people up there that are active in doing things and know what the needs are. I'm just trying to activate those people in the best way that I can with the resources that my organization has been awarded through organizations like the University of Detroit Mercy, contributions from the Kresge Foundation, a Knight grant, and a capacity building grant from Capital Impact Partners. Thanks, Brad, I saw you out there earlier. But really, I think the most important thing to note here is that people from the community have valuable knowledge that isn't included often. I refer to it as like a PhD in place. So like a neighborhood PhD, you have a PhD in Bagley, you can have a PhD in Sherwood Forest, you can have a PhD in Palmer Park. And those things should be weighted as heavily as a PhD in urban planning or a PhD in community development. You really, in order to do more equitable community development, have to weight the knowledge that the people that are already there have with the same weight that people that came from somewhere else with some certain kind of expertise. Like they need, the playing field needs to be level if we're gonna move forward in a really equitable and sustainable way. Another thing in the way that I think about this is I want to build cultural corridors and not commercial corridors. It's really easy to just take any national retailer that wants to come in and say, yeah, fill that vacant space. The way I choose to think about it is I'm going to listen to all the people in the neighborhood, get some idea of what people want, get some idea of who's already doing something that if activated in the right way could have a successful business in a storefront, rather than just taking any old person that wants to come up there and set up shop. We don't want that area to be Anytown, USA. Like, it has a culture, it has a vibe, it already is a place. It might not be that great at telling its story, but trust me, the story is there. So no more of that blank slate talk. There are no blank slates in the city. So, and especially not there. I just told you stuff happened in that place. It might be vacant right now, but it wasn't always vacant. So every time you see a vacant storefront, know that there's a story there. There's a reason that that place is empty. It didn't just, people just didn't get tired of it one day and then it's gone, like some things happened. I got a little off my second script here, hang on. Oh shoot, I'm at 0. Okay. All that I can ask of you is, I think perception is the most important thing when you're talking about how to reactivate a corridor or a neighborhood. I think the best thing that everyone that came here can do is go tell 2 friends. There are exciting things happening in Livernois 6 Mile. Don't go in there thinking it's a place that you can claim as your own. Go in there and say, hey, there's something happening. How can I plug in? What kind of resources can I provide? How can I tell more people about what's happening there and kind of grow the wealth? So that's all. Thank you.